So there's a tournament tomorrow, and I already have a SAS guide. I already kind of have a SAS guide and a half because I have some maps where I go over them in a video and say where I would play SAS. But the same maps aren't legal in every tournament, and I want to go over some of the weirder ones that are going to be coming up in Rising Stars 2.
Select the suit you wish to pilot. Target change to Objective A.
So I'm a SAS main, if you haven't figured that out, and we're going to mostly go over Sazabi positions. A lot of these positions are in service of Dom, however. Saz is often playing in a spot that might aid a Dom in its path to high ground, because if your team has high ground, Saz can kind of go back to having fun.
Your goal is to capture the target waypoints. Warning, enemy attack imminent.
I'm going to let this countdown expire, and then we're going to go look at A, which is conveniently the first point that's going to open anyways. So if you haven't seen my size guide already, you need to know how to G-dash like this. It lets you not deal with the slight delay, which on size is very slight, but there's a slight delay before your fuel regen starts, and it lets you kind of skip to the part of your sprint that's faster. It lets you run into your sprint with more momentum. It gives you the best of both worlds, which is the start of your dash and the end of your sprint. So let's get on A. Being behind this wall is what you want. It lets you obstruct view of this choke right here. And for the same reason, you don't want to be running outside of this wall this way to get this health up on your team side, because this gives people info, and this lets people know Saz isn't behind this wall. If you want to rat forward like this, yeah, this is good. But for the most part, you want to be behind this wall. And whenever someone tells you, hey, Saz needs to play a position, it doesn't mean Saz needs to be like literally just standing here the whole time without his fingers on WASD. You move. But what it means is that if you aren't in this position, you need to at least be making the enemy team think you're in this position. That's what matters. This could be called a ghost hold in other games, where even if you're not here, you at least make people think you're here. But diving across like this is bad. Ratting right here, theoretically okay. You can't just stand in the shadow of this wall the whole time, because, you know, a Gundam's gonna say, oh, well, there's only one place Saz could be, and he'll dash around like this and hit you. You do need to move, but this is what you need to focus on, and even if you're backed up like this is okay, because well, you do show yourself to this choke for a moment when you do this, but it's a little less obvious, and this is definitely a meaningful position. You can get flanked over here or here, and that's a problem, but playing ramp watch for a Dom is very important. You don't want to, whenever you rotate through points, yes, you want to go as wide as possible. You don't want to like go through here every time you die and respawn. That's really bad. But if you have the point, or if you've simply been pushed off of a point you had to this position, playing here is fine. People who want to take high ground on A are going to want to try and push whichever one of these ramps is not being watched. Like if there's a solo Dom up here, right? Solo Dom is either going to be spamming this side or spamming that side. He's going to have mines on this side, he's going to have mines on that side. And as Saz with a scanner, you know, you can watch one, you can watch the other, and you can kind of tell people which way will help them sneak up on the Dom. This is again another reason why you might have a Saz up here, just to do the opposite.
3 minutes remaining.
Uh,
Target changed to Objective
B.
C.
We're not going to C yet, we're going to B. Ratting below window, sometimes viable. Not what you want to be doing all the time, though. Much like on A, you want to be behind one of this wall or that wall. Either one is good, but this allows you to have cover and keep your toe on the point. And what's nice about a lot of these walls is basically that they give you something to like do a lap around while you reload. And this compensates for the fact that you can boost while you reload, but you can't block while you reload. This is your reload shield, and that's what you need these walls for. And this is something you also want to, keep G-dashing in mind for, because you have almost no reason not to just like G-dash every time you reload. So with that out of the way, I think B is a little bit more simple than A. You kind of just suffer right here and try to keep your toe on the point. Let's just skip ahead and move on to C. There's a health up in here you'll be taking, but let's go to C. C, similar to B, there are times to rat below this window. There are times to be doing laps around this thing so you can reload. You should know how to brawl on the point, because when your team needs someone to brawl on the point, it's you. But height is much more important. You kind of want to be right here, because this lets you put your toes on the point if necessary, but also stop people from getting to height. There's not much elbow room, so you do risk a Gundam showing up right here and throwing a hammer straight up. But, if you at least dash backwards, you might land on this mini when he hits you. That's a net gain of 100 health, honestly, if everything works out. And you just need to stop people from getting height, because like your Dom, even your Pale, they're going to be able to put pods up here that can't be broken. Your Dom is going to be able to spam bazookas down here. Your Pale, he's going to be able to shoot at people before they can even see the Pale, right? Because think about it. Whenever they walk through here, Pale is going to see their legs before he sees their head. And if he doesn't see their head, they don't see him. And in a game like Valorant, if you threw a smoke that was elevated like the top of this doorway, that would be called a one-way, because people can see legs beneath the smoke. And unlike this wall, people can shoot through the smoke and they can get a headshot on the guy whose legs they see. But one-ways are not something you ever walk through, and that makes this deadly. That makes that deadly, as long as you have people on height.
10 seconds remaining.
Trying to approach from right here is also, it's not much better. Trying to come up the bounce pads is viable, but Dom will usually put mines here. There are health ups over here people will try to use, but that's pretty much everything you need to know about each point, other than how soon you should be getting to each point. You need to be getting to C ASAP. You need to be getting to B ASAP, and if it's a BC rotate, you want to treat the time between those points as if C was open. Like, it's that important. Normally people would say save your ults for when the point opens, but if it's a BC rotate, like, you treat it as though C is open the whole time, because retaking C is impossible, and you want to do everything in your power to just never lose C in the first place. So when the point is something like B, you do not want to go through that middle choke. You want to go wide, probably a little wider than I went. If you get info that says people are going through this choke, you can consider pinching it right here. Because if you can stop people from getting through here, yeah, this is a very defensible position. Anyone who runs this way, unless they're silly and they jump through the window, they have someone who could be here, and they have someone who could be here, and they got a 50-50 chance of swinging you with their ass out. You can't quite hold this position if people are rotating along this side, and that's why you don't really want to try it at the start of the match. But what's even worse is to try coming through here. You don't want to be on this end of the choke, you want to be on this end of the choke. This is the advantage. As for getting to C, usually you want to really go as wide as possible. Like, I don't even take this path to C if it's a C start. I just go straight up here. And you want to get right here ASAP. Like, you are throwing your axe, using your boost out of spawn. You are using every ability you can to get through here to this ramp as fast as possible. If I'm on like camphor or something that's a little slippery, I probably do jump out of this window and I go up this way when it's, opening. I don't feed through this wall when I know the enemy already has this point, but on open, yeah.
Select the suit you wish to pilot.
So I would say of all the maps in the game, Ministry of Defense is probably the map where you are most likely to hold someone on the first half of defense. Um, I would say there are probably the most 0-0 draws on Ministry than there are of like any map in the game, at least in like casuals. And that's because it's a very defendable map and because the defender spawn is very close to the sites. Um, so let's look at the power position. This health up, it's not the biggest health up on the map, but it is, without a doubt, the most important health up on the map. If attackers allow a Dom to come through here and he conquers this position and he owns this health up from that point onwards, this whole area becomes his. And you might think, well, why do I care about this area right here? And think about it from the perspective of like a Z2R or something who's playing this site, okay? If you're an attacker Z2R and you understand that your Dom owns this area out here with this health up there, you basically have like, this becomes a spawn wall right here. You can just leave and you go heal out here. You just smoke out to this position and like, this is all yours. And if you're a defender and you understand that like all the guys in this basement have a spawn wall right here, you're like, oh, I can't be fucking pushing into a spawn wall, I'll die. And that's why owning that health up gives you the entire bottom floor. You win the bottom floor if you own this health up. So how do we defend this health up? So you want to play a little bit farther forward, playing maybe even up this far forward to get a scan, theoretically fine, but you want to scan and retreat. Retreating is how you use your scan, because if you keep fighting people who you can see through walls, why did you scan them? You back up, and then you could be right here, and they might have to try and swing this with a hammer, but you have a scan, so you can see this coming and leave. And they can't see this coming, so they don't know if you hit over here when they throw the hammer, or if you hit over here when you throw the hammer. So that's what's nice about this. It gives you multiple places to retreat into, and people are going to spend util trying to kill you. Their Saz might go first, and he throws this axe, but, oh, you're not there. He doesn't scan anything. So he says, okay, Gundam, you either need to throw a hammer right here or right there. And you have now reduced them to having like a 50-50 chance of guessing where you are and stunning you. And that's on top of the fact that like you could be this deep around the corner and he throws it like this. You could be this deep around the corner and he throws it like this. There are lots of different places you could be. You could be hiding down here if you're really freaking desperate. But this is what you want to do. You want to be able to branch into different types of retreats after you scan someone. And this is how you waste abilities, and wasting abilities is how you leave Saz a good game. This is how you, like, if no one on the enemy team has stuns left, Sazabi is happy. And that is what this setup gets you. You can also see through these grates, which on the one hand can kind of spoil where you are, but on the other hand, if someone's like, Saz is playing grates, like, everyone's gonna be like, I know. So it doesn't matter. And what's nice is like you can scan people in basement through this. You can use funnels through the bottom of this. Very viable. And this is like you just play this freaking position. Though there are other positions you want to worry about. You might not play them, but you want to worry about them. And Ash can fly over here, and like he's probably not touchable with your shotgun, but he's gonna molly you, he's gonna shoot you, he's gonna push you backwards, and then once he pushes you backwards enough, you become open to people on this house. And that's kind of how it works. There's like staged Saz up here. He's really far forward, but he can get shot in the back by Ash. He goes, oh fuck, he has to back up, he has to back up. And then backing up makes him vulnerable to a different thing, and then he has to back up even more and take the mini. And that is sort of how you push Sazabi's spring back as an attacker. You're going to have someone who flies over there. Oops, not on the waypoint. Right over here. Pushes them to this position, and then someone right here pushes them farther back by not allowing them to stand there. And that's sort of how you push Saz farther backwards into checkmate. Which means you put the Dom over here eventually. and that's what you want to do. You also want to worry about how defenders might have a sniper who snipes all of the front. I don't think that this is quite the same as just having a Dom who explodes all of the back, but um, this is basically covering all of Sazabi's blind spots. You can really cut the map into thirds where like there's the middle front where Saz kills everything. There's the space behind what Saz is killing where Dom kills everything. And then there's this stuff all to the right of what Saz kills, which a sniper can shoot. And a sniper, you know, they can look at A, and with one dash, they can look at B. So you do want to worry about that as an attacker. Killing a sniper can be a prerequisite. Or, in my opinion, you can kind of just force a B plant with a shield. It's fine. Definitely a map where you should be very willing to plant. Like, even if you fail the plant, the defender spawn is really close, so you want to pull kills towards the bomb site because you want to be able to plant sooner after the kill. You don't want to be like flying super far away from the bomb site to get kills because guess what? That guy is going to respawn on the bomb site and you are no longer on the bomb site and you just wasted all of your time. You want to get the kills near the site. Those are more valuable. The next map we're going to look at is Quarry. I think this is a good map to look at next to Ministry because especially the first half has some serious similarities. I didn't even go over the second half of Ministry. I might go back and record that, but that's probably the least important map to learn the second half on. And I really want to compare the first halves of these two maps. So instead of talking about how to defend the waypoint, which is very defensible on this map, we're going to look at this health up right here. Because much like how Ministry has one health up that is really the most important health up on the map, this is that health up. And the difference is that Saz doesn't play it. You might have a Saz up here who's bodyguarding someone else that's playing it, but you aren't the guy. You want an Ashamar up here because Ashamar has all this range to shoot people over here, all this range to shoot people down here. You can throw a Molly right here and like it covers wall corner to corner. Like you can't get past it. Incredibly oppressive character to have on this map. And he can dash to the side and start shooting at A. So having an Ashe who carries your team by stopping anyone on the enemy side from ever getting this health up is the most important thing on this map. And you are just not that character on this map the way you can be on Ministry. The low ceiling on Ministry, like on Ministry, this is how high the ceiling is from the position you're playing. Like if you're shooting at an Ashe on Ministry, he's that far away at worst. But on here, you're probably down this far, so you don't have that kind of advantage, and you're probably playing this hallway right here because you can throw an axe at A, you can throw an axe at B, you have a health up right here, you have a health up right here, and if worst comes to worst, you know, you can axe up here, and you have a 1k right here, and your axe isn't quite off cooldown by the time you get to this door, but it's at least halfway off cooldown, maybe 1 or 2 seconds left, and that lets you once again axe B. This whole site is like miniature Ministry for you. Sazabi loves playing on B, Sazabi hates playing on A, and how this map kind of works for attackers is that they want to push you so far off of A that you're stuck playing B, and then they plant A. And if your Ashe isn't good enough, that's what happens to you. But if your Ashe is good enough to get MVP, then what's going to happen is they're going to say, oh, I will never take this freaking health up here from the Ashe. I can't get it. It's too hard. And then they're going to try and bully you, and you're going to say, well, as long as I'm on B, I can withstand that. And that's how you get your Saz MVP. If you get Saz MVP here, you thank your Ashe for defending this spot, because that's why you got it. Let's go look at the waypoint, though, because I suppose this is the other way to get Saz MVP. This box, you kind of do laps around. maybe not a full lap, maybe you just go forwards and back on this side of the box without exposing yourself to this lane. But this is the object that you do a lap around to reload. If you're really hanging on, you can do laps around this thing too, or any one of these pillars to play waypoint. But usually you want to retreat before you have to worry about this. Whether or not you hold it doesn't depend on whether or not you can get a kill though. You fight for this if you can stop it from being capped and you can contest it in a way that keeps people from respawning. That's your line in the sand is, can I put my foot here? And other than that, you're playing for this mini. You're playing for this corner. People who snipe you, maybe they stand on this, right? They're going to push you a little farther back, and then this is what you actually need to worry about. When there's people up here, you now need to be on this side of the box. When there's not, you can be right here, and you can stop people from taking this mini. And basically how you try and dismantle this hold as an attacker is you get some people up here who can push Saz back here, who allow people to come through this way. And that's how you open the door. And the only other thing you want to worry about as an attacker are defenders right here, who are shooting at the guys that are trying to use the mega health behind here. Because these guys, they won't get shot by elbow. That's what this is called. We'll call this elbow. They have their own mega health, and they will shoot people in the back as they come around this way. So there are lots of ways to go about dealing with this. Sometimes you just got to shoot them and win. Other times, if there's only one enemy here and you think like a Z2R can just win a duel with them, you can use Z2R smoke and run right over here and just shoot them, take the 1000 health, and bolt to A. There are lots of ways to go about it, but that's kind of how you defend this waypoint. So Harbor City is not legal in Rising Stars 2, but there are some similarities that I want to draw to compare it to Quarry. These are both maps that snipers do well on. These are both maps where Ash hella carries on, like even more than usual. And they are both maps where you kind of approach the first half quite similarly. And when I say first half, I mean like the waypoint of Quarry and the first site on Harbor. As an attacker, you want to shove parking lot to take this health up the same way that you are trying to turn the corner on Quarry to take the health up on the right. I'll probably flash this on the screen for a moment so you can see what I'm talking about. But basically, it's like Quarry, where left and right are flipped, but you could have a character like, maybe not Z2R smoking and running down this, but if this area is undefended, you take that as a backup option. Otherwise, you are trying to shove this lane. Shoved lanes win games. And once you take this health up, you force everyone to retreat to A, and then you should be able to take the point. People will say that this is a sniper map, but really, like, playing Ash around here is incredibly overpowered. Much like how someone on the route to Quarry's first A point, where I said a Zaku could smoke through, much like how someone camping there could shoot at the back of people who are trying to take the mini on the opposite side, you can shoot at the back of people who are trying to take the mini on the opposite side. You can throw a molly right here. If you throw a molly right here, this is an incredibly good defensive option because anyone who jumps over here, they aren't just going through the hemisphere of molly, they're going through like 75% of it if they fuck up. That's a lot of damage. But you can molly the 1K. I kind of messed that one up. I'm not an Ash player. You can theoretically molly right here. This might be the safer way to try and molly right there because this one exposes you to that angle. This one does not do that so much. You want to keep that tunnel covered by this building. But this is definitely a map where Ash holds this side of the road solo and everyone else is on the other side of the street. But getting back to Quarry, well, I'll just switch back to Quarry again. Alrighty. So for the second half, I'm not really going to go over the second half, but If you plant A on the second half, this is very much like a desperation move. You don't usually want to do this. Um, Defenders can put like snipers or anyone with a reasonably long-ranged gun up here, and this is just going to eventually plow you away from the site. There are just going to be too many bullets, and they will always eventually disarm this. But if you go down here, B is very defendable. You can have a Pale Rider who's up here shooting at B, and he can drop health pods down here for a Saz who is also watching B with an axe. Saz has a health up, Saz has health pods if Pale doesn't need them more, and that's kind of the gist of how you play this side. I'm not going to spend too much time on the second half of Ministry because I should have attached this to the first half, but I wouldn't say that you have to plant A quite as strictly as you have to plant B on the second half of Quarry. On Quarry, like if the enemy team already knows that you need 100% on a bomb site to win, they might just let you plant A and let it get to 99% and disarm it to waste a minute of your time. It is that bad of a site. Here, take whatever you can get. On the first half of Ministry, definitely like A is better, but you probably end up winning off of B, if anything, so you just take what you can get. But for the second half, A is probably still a little better, and this is kind of the power position. I'm not saying you want to be out here all the time, but if you can deny people the ability to go across this bridge or deny people coming up this ramp access around this corner, that is what wins games. And the counter is basically people out here can shoot you in the back, and if you're looking back this way, people up here are going to shoot you in the back instead. And this pushes you back to here. You're starting to use this mini, you're starting to get pushed down this elevator. And that's what gives people A. And what's nice about this elevator is you can land on this and bring it up, and you can just do this to stop people from coming up this way, and this stops you from being snuck up on. But there's still this and that is the laser beam that is going to cut through that room, and you want to stop that from happening. This is a somewhat high-minded diagram I've shared with my team that they think is kind of schizobabble, but you want to be doing more than just shoving lanes, as an offense says. Harbor and Quarry are pretty good examples, but while on the one hand you want to be able to shove parking lot, while on the other hand you want to be able to shove the right mini on Quarry, you need to be able to do that. It's important. You do also have alternate routes where you send allies whenever you say, there aren't enough people defending the alternate route. You might say, hey guys, the long street on Harbor is free, let's just take that instead. There's literally no one defending it, they don't even have an Ash. Or you might say, hey guys, the route to A on Quarry is open. A is the better site. It's not my favorite site, but it's the better site. Let's just dive that. LOL. C2R, you can smoke over to there. And you do that. And even by yourself, especially if you're solo carrying in casual games, being able to throw your weight around is what will destabilize the enemy's Sazabi. You need to give them two spots to worry about, because whenever a Saz has a track that he is retreating backwards through, he wants the branches on that track to open, like on the Ministry defense I mentioned. He wants to have different doors to retreat through so that anyone who pushes him might pursue the wrong door, and then his scan lets him beat up anyone who made a mistake and then retake his first position. And there are going to be things like angles that stop him from retaking his first position, but you know what's even better? Pushing a different position. Sometimes you can just push a different position, and Saz has to move over there, and now all of a sudden he's on a new track, and he doesn't know if all of the stuff behind him is cleared, and now you have multiplied your amount of things to worry about by 2, and you only have to worry about 2 points, but now if he had 3 different retreat options for each point, he now has to worry about 6, and that gets complicated for him faster than it gets complicated for you. If you are forcing a Saz on Ministry to fly over here and stop his sniper from getting bullied, you win. If you force a Saz defending this choke to go defend someone who's over here, you win. This definitely applies much more to bombs and point capture maps, but I'd say out of the map pool, this is a very good mentality for pretty much every map you can play. And if you want to, beat Smoothie King's team, you're either getting a Saz to move like this, and that's how you break a really defensive Saz open, or you're ulting him. You're solo ulting Smoothie King over and over again. Uh, he's right.